Most people wake up every single day waiting to feel motivated before they start working on their goals. They scroll through their phones, watch a few videos, listen to music, and tell themselves that once they feel that spark of inspiration, then they'll begin. But here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to accept: motivation is unreliable, temporary, and completely out of your control. It comes and goes like the weather. And if your entire future depends on something that unstable, then your future is going to be unstable too. You've probably experienced it yourself. There are days when you feel unstoppable. You wake up early, your mind is clear, your energy is high, and you feel like you can conquer the world. On those days, working feels easy. You sit down, you focus, and you make progress. But then there are other days when you feel tired for no reason. Your mind is distracted. Every small task feels heavy. And suddenly the same goals that excited you yesterday now feel like a burden. If you rely on motivation, those low energy days will destroy your consistency. And without consistency, there is no success. The people who truly dominate in life understand something that average people refuse to learn. They understand that discipline is far more powerful than motivation. Discipline means you do the work whether you feel like it or not. It means you follow a schedule, you follow a routine, and you execute your responsibilities regardless of your emotional state. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward on the days when motivation disappears, and those days are the ones that actually shape your future. Imagine two individuals with the same dream. Both of them say they want to be successful, rich, respected, and free. The first person waits until he feels inspired. He works hard for a few days, then takes a break because he's tired, distracted, or simply not in the mood. The second person doesn't care about his mood. He wakes up at the same time every day, sits down at his desk, and starts working because that's what he told himself he would do. A few weeks later, the difference between them is small. A few months later, it becomes noticeable. A few years later, it becomes massive. One is still talking about what he plans to do, while the other has already built something real. Discipline is not something you are born with. Nobody comes into this world naturally waking up at 5 a.m. training when they're sore, or studying when they'd rather relax. Discipline is built through repetition. It is built by forcing yourself to act even when your mind is telling you to stop. Every time you choose to work instead of procrastinate, you strengthen that discipline muscle. And just like a real muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. One of the biggest lies modern society tells you is that you should always follow your feelings. You hear phrases like, listen to your heart, or do what feels right. That sounds good in movies and on social media, but in real life, your feelings are often the biggest obstacle between you and your goals. Your feelings will tell you to stay in bed when you should get up. Your feelings will tell you to watch one more video when you should be studying. Your feelings will tell you to quit when things get difficult. If you follow your feelings, you will always choose the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance never leads to greatness. Discipline, on the other hand, forces you to do what is necessary, not what is comfortable. It creates structure in your life. You no longer waste time deciding whether you should work today or not, because that decision was already made when you committed to your routine. You wake up, you start, and you continue until the task is done. This removes the mental battle that most people lose every single day. They spend more energy arguing with themselves than actually working, and by the time they finally start, they're already exhausted. There will be mornings when you feel completely drained. Your body will feel heavy, your mind will feel foggy, and every excuse will sound reasonable. You'll tell yourself you deserve a break, that missing one day won't matter, that you'll make up for it tomorrow. And in that exact moment, you are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to comfort and short-term relief. The other path leads to discipline, discomfort, and long-term success. Most people choose comfort, not because they are weak, but because they have trained themselves to escape discomfort at every opportunity. The problem is that every time you choose comfort over discipline, you reinforce a habit of quitting. You teach your brain that it's acceptable to stop when things feel difficult. Over time, this becomes your default response to every challenge in life. But if you do the opposite, if you force yourself to push through, even when you don't feel like it, you build a new identity. You become the kind of person who finishes what he starts. You become reliable, consistent, and dangerous in the best possible way, because people know that once you commit to something, you will see it through no matter what. Look at the highest performers in any field, whether it's sports, business, or academics. They don't rely on bursts of inspiration. They rely on systems and routines. Athletes train even when they are injured and tired. Entrepreneurs work even when their businesses are losing money. Students who top their classes study even when their friends are out enjoying themselves. They are not special because they feel motivated more often. They are special because they act despite not feeling motivated. There is also a psychological advantage to discipline that most people overlook. When you know that you are capable of doing difficult things even in a bad mood, your confidence increases. Not the fake confidence that comes from motivational quotes, but real confidence built on evidence. You start trusting yourself because you've proven again and again that you can rely on your own actions. This self-trust is what allows you to take bigger risks, set higher goals, and push further than others who are still waiting for the perfect emotional state before they begin. At some point, you have to make a decision about the kind of life you want to live. You can continue being controlled by how you feel each day, or you can take control by building discipline that operates independently of your emotions. One path keeps you stuck in cycles of starting and stopping, dreaming and delaying. The other path is harder in the beginning, but it gradually becomes easier because your habits start working in your favor instead of against you. Every successful person you admire has had days where they didn't feel like continuing. They had moments of doubt, exhaustion, and frustration. The difference is they didn't stop when those feelings appeared. They acknowledged them, but they kept working anyway. That is what discipline looks like in real life. It's not loud, it's not glamorous, and it's rarely praised in the moment, but it is the silent force behind every major achievement you see around you. One of the biggest traps people fall into is believing that explaining their situation is the same as improving their situation. They sit down with friends, with family, even with strangers online, and they spend hours talking about why their life is hard, why they haven't reached their goals yet, and why things haven't worked out the way they planned. It feels productive in the moment because speaking about your problems gives you temporary relief, but in reality, you are just rehearsing your own limitations over and over again. Every time you repeat your excuses, you strengthen them. You start to believe them more deeply, and eventually they stop feeling like excuses and start feeling like facts. You tell yourself you don't have enough money, you didn't grow up in the right environment, you didn't have the right mentors, you didn't get lucky, and because you keep repeating this story, your brain begins to accept it as your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who can change his circumstances and start seeing yourself as someone trapped by them. There is a dangerous comfort in explaining your failures. When you tell people why you couldn't do something, you protect your ego. You avoid the pain of admitting that maybe you simply didn't work hard enough or stay consistent enough. You replace responsibility with justification, and for a moment, it feels like you've solved the emotional discomfort of failure. But nothing in your real life changes. Your bank account doesn't grow. Your skills don't improve. Your position in life remains exactly the same. At the same time, there are people who have every reason to complain, but choose not to. They come from worse backgrounds with fewer opportunities, more obstacles, and harsher circumstances. Yet instead of spending their time explaining why life is unfair, they spend their time figuring out what they can still do despite the unfairness. That shift in focus is what separates those who stay stuck from those who move forward. It's not that successful people have no problems. It's that they refuse to give their problems a microphone. You also need to understand how much energy excuses consume. When you constantly justify your inaction, your mind becomes occupied with defending your current lifestyle instead of improving it. You start to look for evidence that supports your excuses. You surround yourself with people who agree that the system is rigged, that success is impossible, that hard work doesn't pay off. This creates an echo chamber where everyone feels validated in staying exactly where they are. It feels supportive, but it is actually one of the most destructive environments you can place yourself in, because nobody in that circle is pushing anyone else to grow. Silencing your excuses does not mean pretending that your struggles are not real. It means refusing to let those struggles dictate your future. You may not have control over where you started, but you always have control over what you do next. The moment you stop talking about why you can't do something, your brain is forced to search for ways you might be able to do it. Your focus shifts from problems to solutions, from limitations to possibilities. There is also a second form of talking that holds people back, and that is announcing your goals to everyone before you have taken any real action. You tell people you're going to start a business. You tell them you're going to get in shape. You tell them you're going to change your life, and they respond with encouragement. They say they're proud of you. They say it's a great idea. They give you attention and praise. That praise feels good, and your brain rewards you with a small hit of satisfaction. Even though you haven't done anything yet, you start confusing the feeling of being supported with the reality of making progress because you've already received social approval. The urgency to actually do the work decreases. You feel like you've already taken a step forward just by speaking about your plans. Days pass, then weeks, and slowly your excitement fades. The people you told stop asking about your progress, and you quietly drop the goal without ever admitting that you didn't follow through. This cycle repeats again and again, and each time it becomes easier to talk and harder to act. People who achieve significant success often operate differently. They move in silence. They don't feel the need to broadcast every intention or every step of their journey. While others are busy talking about what they will do, they are busy doing it. Their friends might not even know what they've been working on until the results are already visible. This approach protects their focus because they are not wasting mental energy on maintaining an image or living up to public announcements. All of their energy is directed toward execution. Silence is powerful because it forces you to confront reality. When you stop explaining your life to others, you are left alone with your results. There is no audience to impress, no one to convince, no one to reassure you that you're doing fine. You see your situation clearly without filters or comforting narratives. That clarity can be uncomfortable, but it is also incredibly motivating. It creates a sense of urgency that excuses and constant talking tend to dilute. There will be moments when you are tempted to explain why you missed a workout, why you didn't study, why you didn't take that opportunity. You'll want someone to understand, to sympathize, to tell you that it's okay. And sometimes people will do exactly that, not because they want to see you fail, but because it's easier to comfort someone than to challenge them. But every time you accept that comfort, instead of holding yourself accountable, you move one step further away from the person you could become. Holding yourself accountable in silence builds a different kind of strength. You begin to develop an internal standard instead of relying on external validation. You no longer measure your progress by how good your explanations sound, but by what you actually produce. Your words become less frequent but more meaningful because you only speak about things you have already proven through action. This shift also changes how others perceive you. When someone constantly talks about their plans but never follows through, people eventually stop taking them seriously. Their words lose weight. But when someone rarely speaks about their goals and suddenly presents results, those results carry much more impact. Silence builds mystery, and mystery commands attention. People start to respect you not because of what you say, but because of what you consistently do. Silencing your excuses requires brutal honesty with yourself. It means admitting that while your circumstances may be difficult, your reactions to those circumstances are still your responsibility. It means accepting that every hour spent complaining is an hour not spent improving. It means recognizing that explanations might protect your pride in the short term, but destroy your potential in the long term. Most people like the idea of success, but very few people like the process required to achieve it. They admire the cars, the houses, the money, the respect, and the freedom, but they avoid the early mornings, the late nights, the repetition, the boredom, and the pressure that come before those rewards. They want the outcome without embracing the grind, and because of that, they stay stuck in a cycle of wishing instead of becoming. Relentless work ethic is not something that appears when things are going well. It reveals itself when things are difficult, when results are slow, and when nobody is watching. Anyone can work hard for a day or two when they feel excited about a new goal. Anyone can stay focused when progress is fast and praise is constant. The real test begins when the excitement fades, when the work becomes repetitive, and when it feels like your effort is disappearing into a void without producing immediate results. Grinding is not glamorous. It doesn't look like motivational videos or highlight reels. It looks like sitting in the same place every day, doing tasks that are not exciting but necessary. It looks like repeating the same training, the same practice, the same study sessions over and over again, even when you're tired of it. It looks like saying no to distractions while everyone else is relaxing, celebrating, or wasting time. That kind of consistency is what builds mastery, but it is also what most people avoid because it requires patience and mental toughness. There is a moment in every journey where the novelty wears off. At the beginning, everything feels fresh. You are excited to start a new business, excited to hit the gym, excited to learn a new skill. But after a few weeks or months, the routine becomes predictable. You know exactly what you need to do, and that predictability makes the work feel boring. Your brain starts craving stimulation, something new, something easier, something more entertaining. This is where people start looking for shortcuts, new strategies, or even entirely new goals, not because their current path is wrong, but because they are addicted to the feeling of novelty instead of committed to the process of growth. A relentless work ethic means you accept that boredom is part of success. You stop chasing excitement and start respecting repetition. You understand that doing the same productive actions every single day is not a sign that you are stuck. It is a sign that you are building something solid. Just like a builder lays one brick at a time to construct a massive building, your daily efforts might seem small on their own, but over time they create structures that other people look at with awe. There will also be long periods where you feel like you are working hard but not getting the results you expected. You might be training consistently and still not see the body you want. You might be working on your business and still not see the money you hoped for. You might be studying every day and still not feel as skilled as you imagined. These periods are dangerous because they test your belief in the process. Your mind starts asking questions. Is this even worth it? Am I wasting my time? Should I just quit and try something easier? Most people quit during these silent phases of progress because they mistake lack of visible results for lack of improvement. They don't realize that growth often happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible on the outside. Just like a seed spends time developing roots underground before breaking through the soil, your efforts are often building foundations that you cannot yet see. If you stop during this phase, you never give your work the chance to reach the stage where the results finally appear. Relentless workers understand delayed gratification. They are willing to suffer in the present for rewards that might come months or years later. They are willing to keep showing up even when there is no applause, no recognition, and no guarantee of success. This mindset gives them a massive advantage because while others are constantly restarting or giving up, they are compounding their effort day after day. Over time, this compounding effect creates a gap so large that it becomes almost impossible for inconsistent people to catch up. Another harsh reality is that nobody is going to force you to work hard. Once you leave school or structured environments, there is no teacher standing over you, no one checking your homework, no one giving you deadlines with consequences. You are free to waste your time, and that freedom is dangerous if you don't develop self-discipline. A relentless work ethic means you become your own supervisor. You hold yourself accountable even when there is no external pressure. You create your own standards and refuse to fall below them. There will be days when your body feels exhausted and your mind feels overwhelmed. You will have personal problems, emotional stress, and unexpected obstacles that make it tempting to take a break. And sometimes rest is necessary, but most of the time people use rest as an excuse to escape discomfort rather than to recover strategically. Relentless workers learn to differentiate between true exhaustion and simple resistance to effort. They learn to push through discomfort while still taking care of their health and long-term sustainability. This kind of work ethic also changes your identity. At first, you might see yourself as someone trying to become hardworking. You have to remind yourself to stay focused, to stay disciplined, to keep going. But after months and years of consistent effort, something shifts. Hard work stops feeling like something you force yourself to do and starts feeling like a natural part of who you are. You become someone who feels uncomfortable when you are not being productive, someone who automatically looks for ways to improve rather than ways to escape effort. People around you will start noticing this difference. They will see that while they were talking about plans and waiting for the perfect moment, you were quietly building skills, experience, and resilience. They will wonder how you managed to progress so far while they feel like they are still at the starting line. What they often fail to see is not a secret technique or a lucky break, but thousands of hours of unseen, uncelebrated work that you chose to do when it would have been easier not to. Relentless grinding also builds mental toughness. When you repeatedly expose yourself to challenging tasks, tight schedules, and high expectations, your tolerance for pressure increases. Situations that would have overwhelmed you in the past start to feel manageable. You become calmer under stress because you are used to operating in demanding environments. This mental resilience becomes one of your greatest assets, allowing you to take on bigger opportunities and responsibilities without collapsing under their weight over time. The compound effect of relentless work begins to show in ways that cannot be ignored. Your skills become sharper, your knowledge becomes deeper, and your confidence becomes grounded in real achievements rather than empty affirmations. Doors start to open, not because the world suddenly became fair, but because you built yourself into someone who is prepared to walk through those doors when they appear. At the end of all this, everything you've heard comes down to one simple but uncomfortable truth: your life will only change when your actions change. Not when you feel inspired, not when people start believing in you, not when circumstances magically improve, but when you decide to become the kind of person who works regardless of how you feel, who stays silent instead of making excuses, and who keeps grinding long after others have given up. You now understand that motivation is temporary, excuses are traps, and success belongs to those who are willing to repeat hard, boring, and uncomfortable actions every single day. Most people will hear these words and agree with them, maybe even feel fired up for a few hours, and then return to their old habits. That is why so few people ever rise above average. They listen, they nod, they feel inspired, and then they do nothing. The difference between the life you have and the life you want is hidden in the small decisions you make when nobody is watching. It's in whether you wake up when the alarm rings or hit snooze. It's in whether you work when you're tired or tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. It's in whether you stay quiet and execute or keep talking about plans you never follow through on. These moments seem insignificant while they are happening, but stacked together, they define your entire future. There is no secret formula waiting to be discovered, no hidden shortcut that will save you from effort. Every successful person you admire had to face the same resistance, the same boredom, the same self-doubt, and the same temptation to quit. The only difference is they chose not to stop. They chose discipline over motivation, action over excuses, and relentless work over comfort. Right now, you are standing at a point where you can either take this message seriously or treat it like just another speech you watched and forgot. If you truly want to separate yourself from the crowd, then you must accept that progress will often feel slow, lonely, and thankless. You must be willing to keep working when nobody claps for you, to keep improving when nobody notices, and to keep believing in your direction even when results take time to appear. The world does not reward potential. It rewards execution. It does not care about how many ideas you have, how many plans you've made, or how many times you said you were going to change. It only reacts to what you consistently produce. Once you accept that, you stop wasting energy trying to look successful and start focusing on becoming successful. From this moment forward, every excuse you make will be a choice. Every time you delay your work, you will know exactly what you are sacrificing. And every time you push through discomfort and complete what you said you would do, you will be reinforcing a version of yourself that is stronger, more disciplined, and harder to ignore. The path is simple, but it is not easy. Stay quiet, stay focused, and keep working even when it feels repetitive, even when it feels unfair, even when it feels like nobody cares. Because in the long run, the person who shuts up and grinds while everyone else is distracted is the person who eventually walks into a room with results that speak louder than any words ever could.